see if I can record this. And we're going to go ahead and begin. So thank you. I just have a heart of gratitude, not only for you being on, but for these extraordinary human beings who said, you know what, we're not going to join the rat race anymore. They were in the rat race and said, I'm done with the rat race. So they got a different job, a job that's not so stressed and stress filling. And they saved up and said, we want to go on a 2-year journey around the world, which is counterculture. Most people say, well, I'll do that when I retire, or yeah, maybe someday. And they said, no, we're going to do it. How old are you guys again?
37.
37. 37. So they're close to retirement, right? All right. So I want to share something just in the beginning to introduce all of this. We're calling it Patterns of Patagonia, Tom and Sarah's sage advice. And to give you a little bit of background about how we came to be, I'm part of we're all part of a group called Warm Showers. It's a global cycling network where if you're a cyclist, or even if you're not, if you're just interested in meeting amazing people, you create a profile, kind of like a Facebook profile, and you say, we would love to have guests in our home. Or I'm on tour and I would love to stay with people. Well, they reached out about a month before they arrived saying, hey, we're on this crazy journey and we're going to be there from June 6th to the 9th. Could we stay with you? You know, we need a place to kind of regroup and send packages to. We're like, yes, come on over. And that's how we met. But even beyond that, there's a quote that I want to share that's extremely powerful. Right here, let me go in here. So this doesn't immediately apply to cycling, but you'll see its correlation to not only cycling, but all of life. And this is by Ferdinand Magellan. The sea is dangerous and its storms terrible. Yet, these obstacles have never been sufficient reason to remain ashore. Unlike the mediocre, intrepid spirits like them and us, seek victory over those things that seem impossible. It is with an iron will that we face the most daring of all endeavors to meet the shadowy future without fear and conquer the unknown. I lead treks all over the world. We are going to go to Patagonia in March. Before that, we're going to Morocco. And then next June, we're also going to Norway. But the real treat right now is to hear about what life is like when you're a nomad, when you're on the road, and what is extraordinary to other people is just ordinary for them. So here's their blog. They've got a great website, lots of photos, blog posts. But right now, let me introduce you to our guests, Tom and Sarah, and I'll get out of your way. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to raise your hand and ask them any questions.
Oh, just ask.
Just ask.
Just
okay.
Let's just have conversation. Yeah, just you don't
just chip in whenever.
Yeah, you don't need to be on mute. Just yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, this is us. We're from England, as you can probably tell from our accents. So we live in the Peak District in the UK. So it's a teeny tiny little village, as English as they come. Green hills, trees, dry stone walls, lots of sheep, not many people. So it's a national park as well. So we're very lucky where we live. And we've been together since we were 14. Yeah, quite a long time. And we've been doing this sort of stuff ever since we've been together.
Yeah,
You
in
know,
various guises, different trips and
hikes and all
Yeah.
sorts, crazy holidays and camping, all the time. So we've never been afraid of adventure. It's not the first time we've done something like this as well, isn't it? We did it in 2015. We went around the world once in 2015 already, but just on foot, not with the bikes. So yeah, we always had this kind of throwaway comment of, oh, when we cycle around the world, we'll let's just pack it all in and cycle around the world. And whenever something got a bit stressful, we'd be like, oh, let's just cycle.
when work's frustrations were too much, it would be like, oh, let's just forget this and cycle around the world. And it got to the point where we thought, we either really need to do this thing and actually cycle around the world, or we need to stop joking about cycling around the world.
I think our friends were just getting a bit annoyed about us constantly talking about it. Will you just go away and go do it?
So yeah, and I think during COVID, when that was taken away from us, obviously all travel was suspended. I think it really makes you realize actually how much these things that you kind of joke about, all these ideas that you have that are sort of seem like faraway dreams, when the possibility of that is taken away, it suddenly makes you think, oh, actually, no, that does mean quite a lot to me. So, yeah, during COVID, we definitely thought, the minute the restrictions are open, we're going to do this thing.
Yeah. So we asked both our employers. We just went, we want to go around the world for 2 years. Well, we said we want to go around the world, and then we sort of warmed them up to 2 years. And then we kind of were like, well, if you say no, we're kind of going to go anyway. But we'd really like to come back to our jobs. So somehow we managed to get 2-year career breaks from both of our jobs. And spent hours and hours and hours choosing bikes and looking at all the equipment and everything, and
Thinking about routes and different options.
yeah, and then emptied the house, put everything in the attic, well, converted the attic first in order to take everything to fit in the attic. Rented the house out. We found 2 other cyclists that had just finished a tour, a big long 1-year tour. They moved straight into our house. So that was all of that. And then we cycled from home, called in our parents. There was a big party. It was my mum and dad's 50th wedding anniversary, so it was convenient. All the family were there to say bye. And then got the ferry across to Europe. We cycled all the way down through Netherlands, France, Germany, Switzerland, Spain, kind of as a warm-up to test out the gear, post things home. So we set off knowing we're gonna send stuff home. So we didn't worry too much about, cutting the toothbrushes in half to start with. It was, let's just take what we think we need, and it'll be quite easy to post things back from France and Germany. And it was. We posted 10 kilograms, I think, in the first few weeks, which is a lot.
Is that
22 pounds in the first few weeks we posted back. And we're still posting things back. So we've been on the road 9 months now. And even from here, we're just finally sending the few things back that we haven't been able to through South America. So then from Spain, we flew to Ushuaia at the very tip of Argentina. And I think that's where the real adventure started. And we've cycled up through Argentina, Chile. We've crossed the Andes about 7 or 8 times back and forth between Chile and Argentina. and then up to Bolivia, and then Peru. So
And then we flew from Peru to
here.
here.
So
Session.
yeah, so we've got a load of pictures to sort of talk you through that journey, and or has anyone got anything to ask about any of that?
What do you mean about posting stuff back? You like things that you're picking up along the way to send back home? What does that mean?
No,
No.
things we just don't need.
Oh.
So Sarah brought her Kindle, you know, to read. That went back.
Along with my reading glasses.
And her glasses. Oh, loads of stuff. Like
Yeah.
uh,
We initially set off with like a small tablet and
yeah,
like,
laptop. We got rid of that.
yeah.
Clothes, just way too many clothes.
Yeah.
Way too many clothes. So they all went back. Lots of spares, duplicates of things, extra wires, extra charging things. Lots of that stuff was what went back.
So are you finding that your journey is helping you like prioritize? Is that like it's you're just kind of I don't need this and it's
Yeah, very much so. It's every extra thing you carry, you have to really question whether you need it, because the extra weight makes so much difference. And sometimes you can kind of kid yourself on a flat road that it doesn't make a difference. But the moment you hit a hill and the moment you have to push your bike off at all, you go, what is all this stuff? Like, why am I carrying all of this stuff? Do I really need it? So yeah, there's definitely things. And I think because we are now sort of 9 months in, and the end, we've sort of finished the South American section, there are certain things that we just haven't used that we thought we would do. And we were kind of holding on to them thinking, there's still some sections of, you know, South America that might mean we might need this or we might use that. And we just think now, at this point, if we haven't used it, it's going home, because
spare, you know, still spare battery packs, things like that.
Yeah.
Extra water bottles that, you know, water's constantly changing depending where we are, things like that.
Yeah.
So are you picking countries out of each, or you're not, are you visiting every country or just picking certain ones
Yeah,
from each continent?
picking the best bits, basically. We can't cycle everything, and there was some really hard decisions through South America of feeling like we're missing out. You know, especially flying from Peru to here, you know, feeling like we've missed out Ecuador, Colombia,
Central America.
but we can't do it all. I think our main goal here is not to cycle every inch and there be loads of rules. It's just to have a nice time and go to nice places.
Yeah, and to explore things and to learn about ourselves and each other and the world and the people. So yeah, sadly, even though 2 years is a very long time, it's still not long enough to do everything.
So how long been in South America?
6 months.
Yeah, so we were in Europe for 2 months, and then we've been in South America for 6 months in total.
I have a question. So why 2 years? Have you done a financial planning, a budgeting, and you thought, well, you can see the world in 2 years?
Well, Sarah's career break policy was maximum 2 years. So we took the maximum.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 year is not enough. We didn't want to just have like one Christmas and one of each time period, one of each season. I think it's really nice to think, okay, yeah, we've got enough time. In all honesty, we may go longer. We're starting to get the itch of, I don't think we can do what we want to do in 2 years, and we may go a little further. It depends on work, whether we go back to those jobs or not.
Do you already have a plan for all the places that you want to go, or are you still making decisions along the way and learning about different options?
I mean, when we got to South America, there was no plan. Like there's so many blogs and information out there that we've just done it on the fly, on the road. and you ask people and they say, oh, I went on this way. And you know, I'd never heard of the Carretera Austral. I couldn't pronounce it for about 2 months. So people.
And tell them what the Carretera is.
Yeah.
Some
so-
people don't know.
So it's the longest.
No, the Carretera Austral is Chile's route to 7. So it's just essentially on paper it's a Chilean highway, but the reality is that a lot of it is unpaved, and because of the incredible beauty of Chile, it kind of wiggles its way through essentially the most beautiful parts of Chile, and it's a cyclist stream really, because the scenery is just so incredible, and the people in Chile are really warm and welcoming, and it's really, well, it's super famous, you know, among cyclists because of that. And there isn't that much traffic. I feel like it's getting, I think over the years, it has got busier with traffic because of things like the 4x4 pickup and stuff, now being able to drive on the unpaved roads. But yeah, it might make sense for us to maybe put some photos up.
Can
you know.
I interject something?
Yeah.
So Carretera Austral means Southern Highway, and it's been called the last remote wonder of the world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's it. Go for
Yeah,
it.
cool. So yeah, we've got
Start at the.
I put a few photos together to just sort of help from Ushuaia to just sort of help pull out some stories really. So screen share, and then yeah. So the first thing when can you all see that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. The first thing when you get to Argentina is the exchange rate. You basically feel like a millionaire. This is about $100. Yeah, that's all it is. And literally you have to stuff this money in every single bag you've got, like, because you come out with a wad of
Or do you want some?
yeah.
Oh
So you know, Tierra del Fuego, called, you know, the end of the world. It really does feel like that when you're there. You know, the wildest place. We was excited to see Dolce Galetti. You know, ate it non-stop. I ate it non-stop for the first few months, and then yeah.
How? Excuse me. Sorry. How?
Yeah, Dolce is like a caramel sauce almost, but they eat it in, it's like the equivalent of kind of Nutella or something. You know, they put it on bread and they have it in desserts, and they have a lot of their bakeries and stuff have got products with it in. But yeah, you were very excited to realize that they because of this.
So again, warm showers. Warm showers was amazing when we arrived in Ushuaia. Just the nicest guy. Hardly spoke any English. Like, we hardly spoke any Spanish at that point. And we stayed there for a few days, got the bike sorted. Yeah, so it's just the best thing. This was his house. You know, that's his whole house. Just that one door, one room, a bathroom, and a kitchen built in the room. That was it. Amazing.
So was that your bikes? No trailer, just pack saddles
Yeah.
and
So
everything
that's
loaded
probably
off the bike itself.
yeah, that's probably quite a good picture to talk through the bikes. We opted for big bikes. So these are big, strong, very strong bikes, and very, very heavy. They're both the same bike. They're a Tumbleweed Prospector from America, and we built them ourselves. So we got the frames imported in from the US, and then I built them literally from the spokes up. From which was great. We enjoyed doing that, and now we know the bikes inside out, can fix anything on them. They have huge tires, massive big 2.8-inch tires, which makes a big difference for that sort of long-term comfort. And yeah, as you can see, there's not a huge amount of stuff on there. We have very small panniers. They're only 10 litres each. Some really good frame bags. And then these waxed cotton bags on the front. They're about 20 litres each. And they've moved. The stuff's moved and changed, and we can move things around, put something on the rack, and that sort of thing. But they really are round the world bikes in terms of strong, tough. We can go on any terrain, you know, completely off road, and you know, haul them through rivers, chuck them in the back of pickup trucks when we need hitchhikes, and they're really doing well. So yeah, from Ushuaia, this is our tent. So another sort of useful bit of information. It's a 4-season tent. Again, it's really heavy, but it's a compromise. And we've met loads of cyclists with super lightweight, you know, sub 2-pound tents, and ours is 4.5 kilograms, so 9 pounds. So it's pretty heavy, but it's our home for 2 years, and it's tough, it's strong, it's waterproof, it's freestanding, which is really important for us because we've pitched in a lot of school halls, we've pitched underneath shelters, we've pitched in bus shelters, we've pitched on gravel, on rock where you cannot get any pegs in, and you need to use, you know, rocks to peg it out. So it's a love and hate it. It's heavy and it's big, but it serves as well.
And I think for such a long trip, you know, for us, it makes sense to have something that is a bit more robust. As I say, we've met a lot of people who have been doing shorter trips and have had much lighter weight tents, you know, something that's much less robust. And for them, it's been perfect. But yeah, for us, just because of the length of our trip, it makes sense to go for something a bit more robust.
Mm-hmm. So Tierra del Fuego was amazing. It was just so wild.
Yeah.
Just felt wild and crisp and fresh and fierce in some ways.
Yeah.
And we were like, there's no wind. Where's the wind? Everyone had been like, oh, you don't know wind until Patagonia. And we spent the first, you know, 2-3 days thinking, this is amazing.
Yeah.
We've hit it right on. It's spring. Lovely. Anyway, that soon changed. You know, we encountered situations like this, you know, bridges that are just completely washed out. We have to get our bikes over that. We then, as I said, with the wind, we then hit the coast, and we hit roads like this, 100 miles, non-stop, pretty much straight line. And the wind was just unbelievable. So we were on this stretch of road, and we just thought, well, first off, we were heading south to north. Most people do north to south because you have the prevailing wind behind you. So we were on this road we met other cyclists were coming towards us, having done 100, 150 miles that morning, absolutely beaming, you know, with like 1 or 2 days at the end of their trip. We were there going, what on earth are we doing? Why are we going north? Like totally questioning our like choices. We have never been in wind so bad. We were just being buffeted off the road. A huge storm rolled in, the rain rolled in. We were on this big 2-lane highway, and we tried for 2 solid days to hitchhike, and not a single vehicle stopped. And we basically walked. We walked for 2 days. Right at the beginning of the trip, just questioning our, you know, our choices. But I think what's been interesting, sort of reflecting back and, you know, talking to Layne on it, is it's how we both react so differently in situations like that. You know, so me there, you know, walking along that gravel because you just couldn't ride, I just got so angry, so angry, yelling into the wind. Whereas you, on the other hand, can just internalize stay calm and just put one foot after the other.
Yeah, I put on my old my internal jukebox of songs in my head, and you know, and often the times it's not necessarily songs that you want to just suddenly crop up in your mind, but you know, they do, and yeah, I can kind of put the hood up, get my head down, and yeah,
Yeah,
so we deal with it very differently.
but then the resilience you need for times like this on these trips, there is nothing you can do other than just put one foot in front of the other and get out of this situation. You want to sit down and have a tantrum, and sometimes we do, but you know, then you just have to muster up the strength to just carry on. So that was right at the beginning of the trip, you know, in week 1 of South America, we were like, wow, is the whole thing going to be like this?
Mm.
And it wasn't. So, you know, the wind buffeting in your face, riding along that was tough, was really, really tough. Again, sort of not again, but there's lots of these little shelters, and this was one of those situations where we'd ridden for 2-3 days. The storm had come in. It was late at night. On a whim, not on a whim, but sort of a bit of a calculated, we think there's going to be a hut here on this junction. There was. And yeah, so these were literally those situations where a lifesaver of a hut. You know, if we hadn't have had that, we'd have just frozen overnight.
But that's not Patagonia, right?
That's Tierra del
That's
Fuego.
Tierra del Fuego.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it suddenly changes.
So as you get slightly further north and beyond Tierra del Fuego, you get up into Patagonia, which is like the image that's being shown now, and this is just stunning.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And in certain sections the wind can still be there on the Argentinian side, but on the Chilean side the wind, because of the way that the mountains are and you're often in amongst the trees, so actually yeah, there isn't really much of a problem with wind. Well, we didn't have one on the Chilean side.
No.
This is Torres del Paine in Chile.
Tourists start.
Yeah.
So the first little section, you're like, you've gone from nothing, no one, and then suddenly the tour buses are there and there's tourists everywhere, and it's a complete change. You just, yeah, you don't feel so isolated, and yeah, real contrast. These are, you know, the bus shelters are your absolute savior. You know, you're constantly rescued by these, sleeping in them, having to cook in them, because the elements are so tough. So yeah, the pictures and the scenery are just breathtaking.
Yeah,
absolutely breathtaking.
Speak for themselves, really.
Dust, real problem. Real problem. Huge sections of just endless roads.
And very, very little traffic.
No resupply. So you're carrying maybe 3-4 days worth of food, a couple of days of water, which can get, you know, really heavy. Yeah. So I'm just going to whiz through these to get to Patagonia. So this is, when you're carrying 3-4 days of food, this will be the 4th day of food.
Is that what have we got left in the bags? What can we put together that we can eat? It's peas and ketchup in a wrap.
So this is then getting to the start of the Carretera. So this is from El Calafate to El Chaltén. You're regularly reliant on, you know, there'll be one house within maybe 200 miles, 200 kilometers, and you have to knock on the doors to ask for water. And in places like this, you know, they have hardly anything, and they will always invite you in. Always go, you know, do you need something to eat? Do you need anything else? Do you want to sleep? And it's just amazing. Yeah,
the generosity and the hospitality is just incredible. Just the kindness that people show you.
So this is Fitzroy. So on the approach to here, we did regular sort of 3 a.m., 4 a.m. starts to miss the wind. So
So-
you'd have to look on your phone the night before, so you'd look at the weather and be like, okay, we need to get going as quickly as possible to miss the wind.
And if you manage to get, you know, the vast majority of your day done by lunchtime, then you'd miss the headwinds. So we started getting up really early so that we could get a morning of riding and get most of the miles done. But it also means that you have the roads to yourself, there's no one there, and the sunrises are incredible,
Yeah.
as some of those pictures kind of show. And it just feels like it is such a special place.
So this is towards El Chaltan.
Can I ask, so what time would you go to bed?
As early as
As
possible.
early as possible, yeah.
This was a tough period. We were exhausted, absolutely exhausted. So because we'd be riding to get to a safe place to camp, you know, we'd be riding 100 kilometers, maybe 120 kilometers. And so we would be riding till 9 p.m. maybe. And you'd just get in, shovel some food down, get to sleep. And so we were getting like 4 or 5 hours sleep for maybe a period of
3 or 4 days in a
yeah.
row.
We were really exhausted just before we got to the Carretera, and then we just mellowed, calmed down. It all became a little more chilled, and we were doing 50 kilometers a day. Yeah.
So this is the approach. This is approaching El Chalten, and so that's kind of like the Fitzroy range.
Yeah. So then, the moment you cross that, it completely changes. You cross into just a completely different environment. So this is the approach to the infamous hiker bike.
So between El Chalten, which is in Argentina, and Villa O'Higgins, which is in Chile, there is a road that you could take the very long way round, but most cyclists would rather choose to kind of take this route, which is the very, and it means you then start on the Carretera Austral at the very beginning, so at kilometer 0 on the Carretera Austral, and in the process you get to see some incredible scenery, and it's really wild.
Yeah. So there's 2 ferries.
Yeah, so you have the first ferry from El Chalten across Lago Desertio, and that takes you across to a stretch of woodland and the Argentinian border.
So there's a teeny tiny little hut in the middle of the woods, which is the Argentinian border post, and there's one guy sat in there with a desk in his room, and he flicks through your passport meticulously, and then gives you the stamp, and that's it. And then you've got a no man's land of about 6 kilometers, 4 kilometers.
Because of the 15 afterwards, so
Okay.
it's about 20 kilometers.
20 kilometers of just this no man's land until the Chilean border that you have to cross in a day, because of the stamp in your passport.
Yeah, you're not allowed to camp between the 2 borders in the no man's land.
And it's a complete hiker bike. So it's all the cyclists go whenever you meet them on the Carretera, like, oh, how did you find the hiker bike? We loved it. Most totally hate it. But for us, we'd been on this, like I was just saying, we were exhausted from all of this stretch through Tierra del Fuego. We had all of that wide open expanse. And then suddenly we're in this tranquil, ancient woodland. And we just sort of paused. We're like, all the bikes are totally fine. We've got capable mountain bikes. Like, we can push them. We don't have huge panniers and things. And we just sort of slowed down, chilled out, looked around us, and just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long it takes us.
Yeah, I think the stretch of the single track that's kind of the hiker bike is maybe 6 kilometers long. So in itself, it's not very long. And so I think we just kind of, we just said, actually, we know it's going to take us a long time. We know this is going to be tough, but actually it's only 6 kilometers. So let's just take our time and enjoy it. And because the forest is beautiful, and as I say, there's no one else there unless you happen to bump into another crazy cyclist doing a similar thing. It's just you, and it's this amazing pristine forest. So
So I think
Yeah.
I think we've learned quite a lot from that sort of experience, and we've had multiple more since like this, that you just have to learn to accept it is what it is. Like, don't fight it. Don't try and make it faster and quicker, and it should be easier than this.
Yeah, because it shouldn't. It is hard. It's
Yeah.
and everyone finds it hard.
And we keep having to remind ourselves when we're, at each other, and this is really hard. The reason we're shouting at each other is because it's really hard. Look at where we are.
Yeah. And most of the time, if you kind of just stop and look around you, take a breather, you're like, oh no, it's definitely all worth it. And actually, you just kind of forget about all the aggravation and how hard it is. And because it is, as you can see, it is truly beautiful.
But tough.
But tough.
So it was really nice. This was then our first experience then of meeting other cyclists. We hadn't really met that many before this point. And on this, because this is cyclists only on this campsite.
Yeah, so after you've gone through the single track, you hit a gravel road, which in itself is pretty steep. But we were doing it as a descent because we were coming from the south. And the view of the lake in front of you just opens up, and it's this amazing like glacial blue water. And you just drop down and you get to the Chilean border, which again is a slightly larger shed with I think maybe 2 guys in it as opposed to 1, but it's still very, very simple. And again, they kind of then stamp you into Chile. And then the only thing really beyond that is the lakeshore and that kind of very basic campsite. But because it's only cyclists and hikers, it's got a really nice kind of chilled out atmosphere, and everyone has been through the same thing or is about to go off, and you're exchanging stories, and a lot of people, everyone is either coming to the end of the Carretera or is about to start it, and so the atmosphere is just lovely.
But what you then realize when you see other people is you see every single different bike style, age, everything, and you just go, it just really doesn't matter what bike you're on. Like, as long as you enjoy being on that bike, it's quite humbling to see, the different, like, that you can just be on anything. Because our bikes, they're really expensive. Everything is, spec'd to for a reason. But you then just go, but people are doing it on, a 1980s second-hand steel-framed 26-inch hardtail, and they're loving it. So that was nice, and it was nice to meet other cyclists at that point.
And I think it also makes you realize that there's definitely no right or wrong way of doing this.
Well, this is the wrong way of doing it. I mean, I couldn't lift their bikes. This was 2 20-something-year-old young German couple, and I just couldn't actually lift their bike. So yeah, that's not the way to do it.
They did have too much stuff, but generally speaking, there's not.
Yeah.
And then from there you have a second boat crossing, which is renowned for being pretty choppy.
Yeah, it was the worst day of my life.
Tom gets rid of seasickness, so for him it was a really horrific experience. But for me, I mean, it was beautiful. I was looking out of the window and I was enjoying it. But you, not so much.
No.
And then you're in Chile and you're at the bottom of the Carretera, and you
Villa O'Higgins.
Villa O'Higgins, and you.
So Villa O'Higgins really is the sort of start of the lush green. You feel like you're in. It's humid. But crisp at the same time.
Yeah, it's like
really
snow-capped
nice.
Peaks, and it was just amazing.
So we took some time there, did some maintenance on the bikes. I changed the oil in our Rollhoff hubs, that sort of thing. Just in a really cool hostel. It was just one of those places that had a really nice vibe. We really liked it.
They see so many cyclists that they're used to, cyclists and all their paraphernalia and all that kind of thing. And again, it means that you're quite likely to bump into other cyclists who are either coming or going.
It just becomes an amazing environment. The wild lupins are really nice, really green. So yeah, you know, we keep helping out guys like this. So this was PJ in his 70s, cycling the entire world from Sweden. He was absolutely just destroyed, wasn't he, in terms
He
of
was
just
pretty exhausted. Yeah, when we
totally
met
beat
him.
up. He kept falling off his bike. Things were breaking. Like his
Ah.
skin was all
Mm.
rashed up from the dust. And we just kept bumping into him, helping him out. Like,
It's a
and-
really good sense of community on the whole Carretera because there are a lot of cyclists and there's not a lot of anyone else. So it is a really wonderful kind of community. And as I say, you do come across like every kind of bike and every kind of
and like
luggage
I
setup.
I
and-
fixed his bike, didn't I? Up for him, you know, I found some brake pads for him in a box somewhere, and he was so thankful. So the community is really nice. So
But you can see there that obviously like that's sort of the standard of the road in terms of the gravel road. But
yeah, so I think, I mean, you know, we've said you can do it on any bike. I think for any of you that, you know, are thinking of doing this and don't have a bike or thinking of choices, I think the biggest tire size you can fit in, the better. Because it really is good for
comfort.
on they call it Repio or washboard, or it's relentless on your wrists. You've really got to get a good, comfortable wrist position. Try and get bars maybe with multiple wrist positions, really comfortable soft grips.
And what did you recommend? When we were talking earlier, you said, yeah, your gravel bike would work,
Yeah,
but I would recommend. and
I
then
I
you-
think I would probably just recommend like a hardtail, a 29er hardtail mountain bike. And to be honest, I'd get one with a suspension fork. You know, if you were doing a trip like us, where you're cycling thousands and thousands of miles, we can't really have a suspension fork because we'd have to service it every week. But if you're, you know, going to be cycling just a few decent long trips, you don't need a rigid fork. And I think getting a suspension would really help. And we've met a few people along the way who have just a rigid hardtail mountain bike with a fork, and they really enjoy it.
I think it's just the comfort factor because you're on the bike for how many hours a day, and if the surface isn't kind of like amazing and smooth asphalt, after a while, you know, it's like your wrists, your neck, and maybe your lower back or something that ultimately take the force that is otherwise kind of absorbed by really chunky tires or a fork or something. So
I think ideally a steel frame, ideally a steel mountain bike, just because of the strength and the vibration absorption that you get in steel. Steel's the most flexible of all bike materials. So
but the compromise for that is that then it's heavy.
it's a little heavier.
Yeah.
So yeah. So there's a few little diversions off it. You can divert and go down to Tortel, which is just you feel like you've stepped into Fiji. It's really strange. You've got these like wooden walkways all out over this calm, tranquil sea.
Yeah. And the sea, because the sea is kind of essentially just glacial meltwater, it's this incredible blue color that you can see here. So, and we were lucky enough to go on like a blue sky day, so it really did feel a bit like Fiji. But
yeah. So, you know, campsites, there's always the sort of 5-6 p.m. Where are we going to camp? Where are we going to camp? And then from then on, you're constantly looking for the safe spaces.
Which there are a lot of them on the Carretera.
There's a lot of campsites. There's a lot of official.
Yeah, there are a lot of official campsites, and there's a lot of like kind of wild camping spots. And they've all, as you can see, just got amazing views.
Yeah.
So,
but
it's really special.
It's difficult to describe any sort of hard and fast rules or advice on sort of where we would find camp spots, because it's completely different everywhere you are. Some places it's best to go and ask, to think, okay, I'll go knock on their door and say, is there somewhere we can camp? 90% of the time, you know, they'll go, yeah, no problem. You can put your tent there, put the tent in the garden. They may invite you in, they may bring you food if you do that. Other times you kind of hide, because you want to hide from the road, you don't want vehicles to see you. So it really does vary, and vary country to country that we've been in as well.
Yeah. In this particular instance, we asked, there were some gauchos, weren't there? So we just asked them if they were all right for us to camp, which they were.
Dust was a real problem along the Carretera. There was a
So-
lot of times we cycled in dust masks. Huge big trucks just come along, and because it was the time of year, it may be different at different times of year.
Yeah, but for us, it was, they had gone through a particularly dry spell, so the dust was pretty loose.
Yeah.
So
that was tough. But yeah, the animals, the
Yeah.
plants, yeah, amazing.
Do you mind if I pause for
Yeah.
a sec? So we have 10 minutes left. I'm wondering if the people online have any questions.
I have a question. So, did you face any stiffness or injuries? How do you deal with just keeping your body able to keep moving?
Our bums have hurt a lot, and you do just get used to it. You kind of just have to tolerate it. It's not that it doesn't hurt less. You just have to get used to it. My wrists have really hurt. We haven't had any major injuries.
no, I mean, you've had problems with your back and stuff in the past.
I've lived with back spasms for quite a long time. I've had a few on this trip, and there's been a few times where my back has pulled and has gone, and we're on a 3-day middle of nowhere. There's nothing I can do but just suck it up and carry on, which has been some huge mental, lessons learned there. You do stretches every morning.
Yeah, I try and do a little bit of stretching every morning.
I should. And every new country we go in, I keep saying, right, I'm gonna start doing my yoga again. We've both done yoga for years. So we do generally have pretty good sort of body conditioning for that. We haven't had any big injuries.
No,
But there's been times when like my knee has really played up, and you think around, okay, alignment of your cleat and what's causing that, and is it saddle height, and you just play around. You've got the time to kind of play around and be like, okay, maybe I'll try and drop my saddle, maybe I need to tilt the saddle forward, adjust my cleats, adjust my handlebar position, and we're still doing that crazily. Like even just here, Layne's just rummaged around in his garage and found a different stem for Sarah's bike, which should get Sarah in a nice upright position. Yeah.
Has wildlife been a problem when you're camping?
No, we had one mouse nibble through the tent to get to our food bag. We have in the past, we've had it in the UK. A fox dragged out all of our food from a tent and all over a campsite, but no, not so far. We've had nothing. No, we did in Europe.
So same with the wild boar.
We had a wild boar in Europe, in France. Yeah, Europe more so. A lot of just rustling in the leaves that you don't know what it is, and it's usually just a tiny little bug, but a lot of camping in woodlands with a lot of insects, yeah.
But in Patagonia, there's nothing. There's
Dogs. Dogs are a problem.
But are they aggressive?
Yes.
But not on the
Yes.
Carretera.
It's just, I think it's just luck that we didn't get them on the Carretera.
Really?
Yeah, Peru, terrible. Peru was terrible for dogs. And it's different. It's kind of it's on the spot. You have to think quickly, how do I deal with this dog? Some of them you cycle away as fast as you can. Some of them you have to stop. And the moment you stop, the dog also freezes and goes, oh, yeah, it's just a human being. Others we've genuinely had like kicked in the face whilst cycling, which is awful. But it's like that dog is going to bite you and it's biting you. Yeah, so that's scary. And
But not on the Carretera.
We
No,
didn't, we
that
didn't
was
have,
up-
no.
yeah, we didn't
No.
have any of that on the
yeah,
Carretera.
true.
And you had no ticks, mosquitoes.
There was horseflies. There was big docile horseflies, but the bites were nothing. Were they?
Yeah.
The bite, strangely, because horsefly bites are usually really
Yeah.
big,
Yeah.
bad. These weren't. They were really irritating. But you did feel a little bit like Karate Kid in that you could almost pinch them out of the out. They were so docile.
Yeah, really docile.
And you just felt like a superhero riding along, and you'd get one. So no, yeah, no ticks. A few mosquitoes
But
here
nothing
and
bad.
there,
Yeah.
but nothing that a bit of zipping your tent up quickly, you know, putting some stuff on your legs. Yeah. So
So far, is there something that you've learned about yourself or the world or life that you think you're going to carry back with you? And like, have you felt a shift in maybe perception or?
yeah, I think if you're in need and you need something, it'll happen. If just the kindness of people, or the you know, the universe will provide it, if you need it. If you kind of want something to happen just out of, oh, I can't be bothered to ride this section, it'd be really nice if someone picked us up to hitchhike. It doesn't happen. But if you're genuinely at your wit's end, just trail magic happens, and the kindness of people is just amazing. And you can just rely on, it'll be all right. Don't worry, it'll be all right. Like, we don't know if there's somewhere to sleep in this town, but let's just roll into it and ask, and just it happens.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of yeah, like we've become a lot more relaxed about things like that, in that we're not, as when we first set off, it was like trying to find camp spots or places to stay, or not knowing whether there would be water in a place, or we kind of thought there might be water, or not knowing if there's a shop for definite in that village, was quite a, you know, it's
A risk.
it is a
It
risk,
makes
and
some people very panicked and
yeah,
worried.
but actually we've definitely come to learn that it'll be okay. We'll figure something out. We will sort something. Stuff might not go exactly as we thought or planned.
Well, don't plan.
or-
If you have a plan, it'll go wrong. If you have to allow flexibility
Yeah,
in this, and I think we're lucky because we've got the time to do that.
yeah,
You know, like we've been waiting for these parts here. We've had to rebuild our wheels while staying here, and the parts only arrived an hour ago. You just have to let that wash over you. So I think that's something we've learned, to just be a bit more, it'll be all right.
yeah,
It'll be all right. But then not to the point of just getting lazy.
yeah,
You've still got to keep that energy going, because otherwise you don't get through the tough sections. You've got to keep that drive and not just be like, oh, you know, yeah, I'll be fine. Sometimes it isn't.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
One final question. So in terms of lessons learned, have you made any big mistakes that you regret, or things that you wish you knew before going to the trip?
Yeah, if it's a walking trail, walk it. Don't take your bike. We did a route in Peru that was called Ausengate or Ausengate. And it's like a 5-day walk, and we tried to cycle it after some recommendations, and we cycled 5 kilometers of and walked 3 days with our bikes.
Yeah.
It was so difficult.
And we just kept thinking that it's the first time we've ever really thought, we think our bikes are just really ruining this really nice walk. First time we've ever really thought it. But yeah, so we've definitely learned a few lessons from that.
One or two little times when it's been like, how much water have you got?
Oh yeah.
You know, and we go, oh man, we've got like 1 liter between us and there's nothing, you know, and you then get quite panicked because you then have to get on the map and try and search the contours to be like, well, there might be water there. Which has paid off. I mean, you know, Sarah did a mountain leader just before this, and that the skills in our map reading ability really do pay off.
Yeah.
To be able to read only contours with no other features and be like, there's probably water there, you know, or that's where there's a flat spot. It does pay off to have that level of outdoor experience. Yeah.
Good. So it's 6 o'clock. We really appreciate everybody jumping on. Hasn't this been amazing? Like
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. Go ahead and
Yeah, I'm
hit
just
stop.
gonna flick. There's me getting irate at the Sarah not getting irate at losing the lid from her water bottle. The joy of finding fresh food after hours of days and days and days of noodles, sleeping under bridges, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and then that's the end. So that for us was the end of our Carretera when we when it really got difficult after then.
So
and all of this is written up on our website. So
yeah, I'm gonna get the website again. It's right. Here's the link. It's tumblingdiaries.co.uk. And go look at it. There's great photos, the blog, the narrative, they keep it up. It's very informative. But thank you so much for being on here. Let's, as you are, Luciano, let's give them a hand for being here and being willing. Yeah, what's amazing is here they are rebuilding their wheels.
I know.
And hold away so that we could enjoy this time together.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate both of you.
Well,
thank you.
and this guy for having us stay here.
Yeah,
Oh,
incredible.
and Gayleen, it's just been amazing. It feels like we're home.
Yeah, it does.
It genuinely feels like I'm in my family home.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's amazing.
So that's a plug to get on warm showers and join it, because you get to meet incredible people that come through that you would never get to. Anyway, you have an amazing night. Thanks again. Love to you all. And we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.